Good evening and welcome again to Close Up. We are continuing our election special and we are pleased to have with us the Attorney General and General Secretary of the Fiji First political party, Mr. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. Thank you for joining me on Close Up.
Thank you.
You've just released your party manifesto. Political opponents have described it as a document full of freebies and vote-buying goodies, which we will get you to respond to later. But why has it taken so long for the Fiji First manifesto to be released, just about 10 days away from the elections?
Well, as you know, as you would have heard also, our party leader, the Prime Minister, say that the Fiji First essentially will carry on with the same philosophy, with the same earnestness, the development that's taking place in Fiji, and of course the same policies. So there was really no urgency to release the manifesto much earlier on in the piece. Of course the other political parties had to, because you did not know what they were offering starting from the scratch. Whereas we, in that sense, already had a policy in place. This manifesto builds upon that policy. There's obviously a couple of new initiatives that have been brought about, but it fundamentally builds upon what was there.
Well, there's a lot of new policies. I mean, I'd like to, where did you get these policies or where did you get these ideas from? Who put these together?
Well, the party obviously put it together. But you know, when you say new policies, I would again say it's building upon those policies. If, for example, you take the kilowatts assistance for electricity, that assistance is already there, up to 75 kilowatts, where government subsidizes for low-income people 17 cents. We contribute 17 cents, they contribute 70 cents. So now what we've done is build upon that, is given another additional kilowatts, 10 kilowatts.
It's a strategic time to build upon it. Elections are here. So the other parties are asking, why did you not come up with these ideas and these policies over the last 8 years that you were in government?
Well, I mean, you know, I can give you numerous answers to that as to why they're asking those questions in the first place. I could say the same as to why Sodalpa now is saying they're talking about, you know, $50 million for food. They don't tell you how it's going to work. Are they going to give it to shopkeepers? Are they going to give it to you individually? You're going to queue up and get the $50 million. Why didn't they do it before in any case? They were in government. Why didn't they do it before? NFPA, of course, has never been in government. But I can talk to you about Sodalpa. Why didn't they do it before? Why didn't they, for example, do free education before? In the same way we answer the question about why did the Bainimarama government put in free education. We had to be economically sound to be able to give free education. Because when the Bainimarama government was appointed in 2007, the state of finances by the Garasa government was actually quite abysmal in terms of how they had borrowed money for operational costs as opposed to capital costs, etc. So, I mean, the issue here is this. The issue is that the manifesto of Fiji First builds upon whatever was done.
And you think there's the money now? Do you think there's the money now to do these policies? Because the question now is, what is the cost to implement these policies? You asked, they put 50 million, where they'll get the money from. Well, where is the money coming from for these new policies?
Let me tell you. We're the only political party, apart from the $50 million that Sodalpa has mentioned, that has actually given costings, for example, very specific things. So, for example, milk. We're setting aside $10 million for Itauke landowners to develop the land. We're setting aside, for example, $2 million for digital television. All those costings have been given. We've, for example, said about the liters of water that's required. All of those costings have been given. It's a very responsible manifesto. The economy is growing at a much faster rate than it has been before. As you know, the latest figures show that, in fact, the growth rate has been a lot more than what was actually predicted.
More than 3.8%?
It's about 4.6% now. Bureau of Stats, the Reserve Bank of Fiji, has got all those figures independently. It shows that the growth rate is much faster. So you see, fundamentally what is happening is that the Bainimarama government, about 3-4 years ago, put in place a number of fundamental structural changes to the economy, and the benefits of which are flowing now, and they'll continue to flow. This is why this manifesto is building upon that.
All right. There's some you've put cost in, there's some there's out there like the preschool and the delivering water for people living with under $30,000 income. Have you put a cost element to that?
Well, I mean, it's very simple with the water delivery. Of course, is that 1,000 liters makes 1 unit, and that's the cost of it. Now, there are obviously families below a 30,000 income bracket. That costings needs to build into that, but it's not going to be that much because it's only restricted to households below $30,000. So I think, you know, it's a very responsible manifesto from the financial perspective. We're not offering the sun and moon like many of the other manifestos are doing and simply just making willy-nilly statements. This is a concerted effort to build upon the existing policies.
All right. So have you worked out for all these new initiatives that you're building on, what is the total cost that it'll impact onto the economy?
Yes. Well, I think, if you look at it overall, some estimates about $40 million if you put all of them together.
A year.
Yes. Now, for example, with the kindergarten, the question that you had asked about earlier on, preschool, you see that it starts from the second term. The reason why I've said second term is because not all kindergartens are registered. They need to be registered. And we're not paying for kindergarten for somebody to go from the age of 3 years. It has to be a year before they actually commence school. Also, we're not going to fund all kindergartens where you pay $800 or $900 every 2 weeks, because there are kindergartens for the very wealthy bracket of children that go to those schools. So that needs to be nutted out. It needs to go to the ordinary, people who are at the low end of socioeconomic scale. They need to be assisted. And also at the moment, there's no formal registration process for kindergartens. Kindergartens need to be registered, and only then we can.
So there is a process. Now, before we go to the break, will this manifesto see an increase in Fiji's debt level? Because what the political parties are saying is, this Bainimarama government is going to take more loans and put a heavy burden on future generations so that they can win these elections.
Stanley, you see, the thing is, as a journalist also, I think you need to consider when people make statements, whether they're actually basing it on facts or not. The reality is this. FIRCA is now collecting more revenue than ever before. FIRCA is surpassing its budget than ever before. So all the budget levels that it said will collect this much, in fact it's collecting 10-20% more than what they did previously, and in fact surpassing the budget. So obviously, the revenue streams are flowing, the economy is growing at a much faster rate, and the Bainimarama government is on record, and you can see all the finances where it shows that we have never borrowed any money for operational costs. We only borrow money for capital expenditure.
For projects.
For projects, for building roads, hospitals, schools, bridges. Because you never borrow money for operational costs. The Garase government borrowed money for operational costs.
But isn't it still a burden that the future generations will face with?
The $150 million that the Garase government borrowed in 2006 was to pay for operational costs. You don't run a government like that. The same way, if you go to a bank, you're not going to borrow money to go to from the bank to go and party at McDonald's or drink beer under the mango tree.
All right.
You're actually going to borrow money to renovate your house and build a house because you've got something to show for it. All countries need infrastructure. You obviously need to have responsible borrowing, and our debt levels, if you can see now with the growth rates and the growth in GDP,
49%
obviously has gone down. It used to be 52, 53%. And the Bainimarama government has been very efficient in the manner in which we've been managing our finances. For example, right?
But isn't 49% too high for a country like Fiji?
There are certain countries, the international benchmark is a lot higher. I mean, benchmark is obviously ideal position is about 40 to 42%.
Yes.
But which government, you tell me which Fijian government has managed to reach 42%? I can tell you none. In fact, right from the Ratumara government days, SVT government of 5 years of decree-led governance, SVT government after that, SDL.
Will the Bainimarama government be able to reach 42%?
None of them have been able to reduce the debt levels, but they have also, all of them have borrowed money. So the reality is that you need to look at how that borrowed money is spent.
Right.
And we are in the process of reducing the debt level because we're obviously growing the economy.
So it's at 49%. I had asked the question, will the manifesto see the debt level increase?
The manifesto will not see the debt levels increase because we're also collecting a lot more money. So we are managing the economy well. You see, you're taking a very zero-sum analysis to it.
So what do you see as the sustainable debt level that the Bainimarama government will aim for? Because like some parties like Fili Vosarong said today, we want to see 45%.
Yes, well, I mean, Vosarong's party is also the party that said that we want to reduce the duty on computers when already there's no duty on computers. So, I mean, how can you take their word for that? They obviously do not understand what is happening in FIRCA and the financial
Well, let's
sector.
talk about these comments on the debt. What level do you see the Bainimarama able to achieve?
Well, you see, the international benchmark is about 40-42%. You look at the debt levels of Japan, the budget deficits, it's about 80-90%. You look at a lot of the European countries, very, very high. Some African countries are 200%. We obviously are targeting the international benchmarking about 40-42%. And that's our target. We're working towards that. Obviously, we're doing a lot better than the others have done. It's okay for somebody to come along and say, oh, it's 45%. You don't even know how to run the government. You don't know how to run finances. You don't even know what your duty rates are. How can you govern the country?
All right. You're watching Close Up. We're with the General Secretary of the Fiji First Party, Mr. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Close Up. We're with the General Secretary of the Fiji First Party and the Attorney General, Mr. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. Now, the Bainimarama government has told voters, judge us on what we've delivered, judge us by our record. And the political parties that have come on Close Up the last few weeks have said that actually you have not delivered. They actually, we've talked about the debt. They says that that debt is very high, it's unsustainable. They've also quoted poverty and unemployment has actually increased in this country. They're quoting figures and academics and their figures that it's as high as 50%. Mahendra Chaudhary says that half of the people of this country are going to bed hungry. That in fact, while things are looking nice and bright, the cost of living right now is very high. What's your response?
Well, look, Stanley, one of the things, though, I'll give you a general response, because I'm not going to respond to every single statement they make, because most of the time they make comments.
But this is a very targeted comment at your record.
Yeah, but let me finish. They're not based on facts. It's the same Mahendra Chaudhary, even after we declared our we made our financial declaration about the salaries we get, is still insisting that we get $1 million. You have Tipo Darnindala, who I understand appeared on your show, when they talked about, the economy is not doing really well. I don't know whether it was in your show or some other show. So when the economy is not doing well, the Reserve Bank figures are such.
Yes.
They said, well, Reserve Bank is politicized.
They cannot trust the Reserve Bank. That's what they said.
You see, exactly my point. Here are independent bodies that have said this is how well the economy is doing, or these are the debt levels. IMF has said that. ANZ economists are saying the economy is doing
the
well.
Poverty level.
The World Bank statistics. I mean, just because somebody says 50% doesn't make it 50%. If you look at the last statistics, it talks about 32%.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, but then again, there has not been any new surveys done by anybody professional, anybody independent.
So now we do not know what the debt level is, what the poverty level is.
No. See, our statement is that the debt levels have gone down, the poverty levels have gone down. That is our position. Now, I can say that till the cows come home, they can say till the cows come home. We obviously in government, we know what is exactly happening, they're on the outside.
Yes. So no one knows exactly what the poverty level is.
True. We believe we know what is happening, and we believe that is the poverty levels.
No one independent.
We have also at the same time made various changes to our policy, even if you look in our manifesto, to help people who are the poverty level line, or to help people get jobs, to carry out development. We had one of the political parties, for example, make a statement saying, they're doing new roads to nowhere. It's not nowhere. Is he saying we should not build a good road to an isolated village? If we do that, you're helping those villages. You're actually creating economic development. They'll be able to sell their produce. It increases the value of their land. People want to move there. That's what you need to do. So you've got to have a vision. You've got to have a plan.
Right. We'll come to the roads. We'll come to the roads. But the poverty level, if you've been 8 years in power, so people are asking, why have you not found out what the poverty level is in this country?
No, you're saying now, you question me, and I said the debt level, the poverty level is such. You're saying, well, it's somebody independent. So now you're saying that you're not going to.
You're saying they don't know, but why has no independent study done on the poverty level?
Asking me the question as if what they're saying is correct.
No, well, they're also saying that what you're saying is not correct. So why has
let's go to an independent body that does do that.
When will we find out what the poverty level is in this country?
Well, as soon as the independent body, if you want an independent body to do that, we'll get them to do that, and they'll do that.
Okay.
The World Bank does do its survey, and the last survey the World Bank said it was about 32%.
All right, let's come to the roads, because this is another. Mahendra Chaudhary also attacked the Bainimarama government on the roads, because that has been a special project, something that I think many in the country say you've done well, you've put some money in. But he says that you have not done anything special. Mahendra Chaudhary says actually you've been irresponsible. He says anyone can build a road on borrowed money. That you are actually acting irresponsibly with the loans and placing a huge burden on future generations. And he says you have not been transparent, you have not followed best practice, and he's also accused you of taking loans, borrowing in Chinese currency, but in fact we're going to have to pay back in US dollars, and it's going to be a big noose around the neck of this country.
Stanley, look, let's just calm down a bit. Okay. Let me give you a very good example. You may have heard this when you were a child, when they said that the Valley Road was the salad bowl of Fiji. There were no tahsil roads. By the time the farmer brought his tomatoes and jumped up and down on those potholes, by the time it reached the market or reached the hotel, the shelf life of that tomato is reduced by 2 or 3 days. Today the roads are tahsil. you're giving true value to the vegetable farmers, you're giving true value to the land there. These road buildings are targeted specifically to be able to ensure more economic growth. Every country knows, everybody knows it's got a long-term vision. You build roads. Roads is like the veins in your hand.
You change someone's lives.
Not just that. You need the roadways to take, in the same way a vein takes blood to all parts of your body, you need the roads to ensure there's economic activity. People get and are involved in the economic activity of the country. Just because somebody,
I think no one is disputing.
No, hang on. But you're asking me about
No,
Mahendra Chaudhary.
there's no one's disputing that the roads are good.
Can't even stand for elections, and you're taking his word
There's
for it.
no, not taking his word. I'm asking the points that he's put across. No one's disputing that we need roads. What he says, he should not have taken done those roads on the conditions of the loans that you've taken on. Can you confirm that you're taking those loans on what he said? I'm not sure if he's right or wrong. I'm asking you to confirm. You're the one that took those loans. Did you borrow in Chinese currency and we will be paying back in US dollars?
Okay,
he's made this statement on record.
Okay, let me say this. In the previous loans, when governments have borrowed from overseas countries, do you think that the American government or even Asian Development Bank or even Australia and New Zealand, when they have lent money to Fiji, they've lent the money in Fijian dollars? I mean, it is very silly to say that. My point is this. What you need to be concerned about is the debt level. What you need to be concerned about, whether you're borrowing money to pay for capital costs or operational costs. That is what you need to be concerned about. Not these kind of gimmicky statements and you guys grab hold of it and sort of go on about it. My point is this.
Well, it's a concern that the public has. It's
well,
not a gimmick.
I think it's a concern by Mahendra Chaudhary maybe raising it and you are flying the flag. My point is this. What we need to be concerned about is how is the money being spent? Is it being spent in the right place? What is the rate of return on investment for the people of Fiji? Are we building roads where it's going to create economic activity? Are we improving the lives of the people who live in those areas? Are we going to create land development in those areas? 91% of all the land in Fiji is Itauke land. In the manifesto, we've given $10 million to help Itauke people develop land for themselves, as opposed to some rich investor coming along and taking the cream. So this is a concerted effort, it's a broad vision and a plan. That's what we need to be focused on. And unfortunately, for politicians like Chaudhary and people from all the other political parties, all they're simply concerned about is not the big vision. They simply are focusing on this type of issues which does not actually give a long-term goal, a long-term vision and help in economic development.
Right, so, but is he correct? Again, is he correct that we are taking these loans on Chinese currency and paying it back on US dollars?
I've already given you my answer.
Or is he not telling the truth?
No, my answer is this. My answer is that whenever you borrow money from any institution or country or government, there are foreign currency implications. Now, let me give you an example. The Nandari Vatu Dam was supposed to be funded by World Bank. Right? Now, after the events of 5 December 2006 and 2007, World Bank did not fund it. So, the Beni Marama government went through FEA, we got the funding from the Chinese bank.
Right.
They funded it. Today, the Chinese government, the Chinese bank loan has been paid off. Guess who's funded it? Westpac in Fiji has funded it. So what I'm saying is that development, if we had waited around and said, oh, we don't want to borrow from the Chinese, then Nandari Vatu Dam would not have been built. Today we have got more energy being generated through renewable energy. But it's been good for the country. Westpac has come in, it's seen a good value in it. They're now funding it. That's what we need to be focused on.
All right. We finished with Mahendra Chaudhary. Let me come with a criticism that Mick Bados has made about the Fiji First political
party. I thought
party.
we're here to talk about manifesto.
We will come to the manifesto. We will come to that. But let's give a chance for you to respond, because these people are saying this in their campaign meetings. I'm giving you an opportunity to respond directly.
But Stanley,
directly to this.
Stanley, please let me tell you this. Fiji First, as our leader has stated, we're not in the habit of responding to every single comment made by many of these politicians, many of them who do not have any more currency, who do not necessarily even have a constituency.
All right.
We are focused on the big picture. You are going to say this person said that person said that. What is the response? We are not concerned about personalities. We're not concerned about individuals. We are concerned about the people of Fiji. We are concerned about the Fijian people. We are concerned about Fiji as a country.
But your campaign has said, stop listening to lies. Do not listen to liars. You know? So these people are saying this. You're saying that they're lies. So there is a chance for you to directly tell people that's not true what they're telling you. Let's talk about, just very briefly before we go to the manifesto, because it has come quite on the close-up. The removal of the word Fijian, the use of the word Fijian for everyone, and the Great Council of Chiefs. We will not go over the arguments about who's right, who's wrong. But the way, whatever has been criticized about the way, is the way you have come out with that decision. That it's, they woke up one morning and the Bainimarama government decided by itself this is what should happen for the good of this country.
Can I ask you a question before I answer your question? Have all these people, all of these people have said that we should have followed the Aiyaz Commission?
Generally, they felt that that was what they gave contributions to.
Yes.
But yours, it's not the constitution of the Fijian people, it's your constitution.
My answer to that is this: the Aiyaz draft constitution, preamble, first page says, "We the people of Fiji declare we are Fijians. The Itauke and other races that have made Fiji home." We had Biman Prasad and other people saying, this constitution has been shoved on us, we wanted to follow the Aiyaz Commission. The Aiyaz Commission said everybody should be called Fijian. So that debunks that whole argument of theirs.
All right, what about the GCC?
What about the GCC?
Well, that it was an imposition of the decision of the Bainimarama just to remove it by itself without consulting the indigenous community.
As our Prime Minister has said, that the chiefly system is here to stay in Fiji till kingdom come. Right? The chiefs are there, we respect them, they are appointed, they have the mana, etc. The GCC is a political body, a body that has been politicized over the years, that was created by the British. You now have a parliament. It does not mean that just because you don't have the GCC, therefore the chiefly system is done away with. That is the argument, and that is obviously a false argument.
All right. We're with Attorney General and General Secretary of the Fiji First Party, Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Close Up. We're with the General Secretary of the Fiji First Party, Mr. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, having his interesting discussion. Now, you've had 8 years running the government, generally about two terms of elected government. If we had elections, you're now aiming, you're going to the first elections, and put yourself forward to be judged by the people who will decide on what your policies and how you've performed over the last 8 years. And over these last 6 years, you've tried to have this paradigm shift to transform this country, as you've said, to make people think, to unite this country and move forward, put forward the policies to move this country forward. However, as you've seen from the recent campaign, even the Prime Minister has expressed his disappointment that racial politics continue to dominate. So how do you intend to change that if you do win the elections and to change things over the next stage of your political career?
Well, you know, Stanley, the politics, divisive politics of ethnicity, race, religion, all of that is actually being put forward by the politicians themselves, not necessarily individual citizens.
There is striking a note amongst the population?
Most Fijian people are very good-hearted, they're good-willed. Some people are in fact led, they may not necessarily have all the information at hand, so these politicians try and mislead them. Whether they're striking a chord or not is obviously something that we'll find out on September the 17th, on the evening of September 17th.
Well, the polls are showing that SODELPA is surging after the policies that they've raised.
We'll see. We've never commented on polls, as you know.
But you like the results you've seen so far from the polls?
We've never commented on polls. We've never commented on polls, whether it's Fiji Times polls or Fiji Sun polls or Fiji TV polls.
Okay.
The reality is this, is that most people are well-natured, good-hearted. People mislead them into it. Most Fijian people want good economic prosperity for themselves, their families, their children, and for the future. And this is what we're saying to them, that's what you need to focus on. Unfortunately, parties like SODELPA and NFP are very much bringing the old politics back, and I understand Labour to an extent. We are going out obviously dispelling the myths, the lies that they're spreading, but also at the same time we're talking about the policies, we're talking about the achievements which we can build upon. Let me also tell you, no country has ever become economically strong without sustained economic policies. Even if you look at Australia post-World War II, they had the government in about 20 years in the same type of policy. That's when they became strong. Singapore, USA, all of them. And that's what we're appealing to people. Please look at the issues, don't think up till your noses. The Constitution is there to guarantee all your respective rights and freedoms and your religious belief, recognizing the special place of the Itauke people, the Rotuman people, recognizing the unique culture, tradition, and also their land. So it's all safe and secure in the Constitution. Please, when you look at political parties, look at what type of policies they have for you, a vision for the future.
You've called them old politicians, but they are the politicians, you know. And are you surprised at how resilient they've been? You know, for 8 years, you've tried to keep them out. You know, there's been censorship at one point in time. you've clamped down on them. They've come back with a bang, so to speak. Are you surprised at how resilient they are, that they're still alive and they're thriving?
Well, I don't think that it's a question of resilience. I think for them it's a question of survival, because they know they can only survive in this type of politics. They also know that the philosophy and the idea of our leader, Josiah Vorenga Bainimarama, once it gets hold of all the people and once he wins the elections, the old politics goes out the window, and more Fijian people will actually look at reason and vision in the future. 200,000 voters, Stanley, are below the age of 30 going into these elections. Which party has a goal and vision for them? That's what we need to be thinking about.
You think the indigenous Fijians will buy into the Prime Minister's vision?
I don't think it's a question of singling out the Itauke people or the Indo-Fijians, whoever it is. We are saying that we must all move together as a nation. We must all move together as a country and have loyalty to our country. And that's what we should be focusing on. Not, again, if you fall for that old kind of division politics and start categorizing people along ethnic lines. Unfortunately, for example, Fiji Times starts categorizing the polls along ethnic lines, as opposed to thinking as one country.
So let's talk about your manifesto.
Finally.
Yeah. Well, health. What's the main policies in health? How can people's health improve in this country?
Well,
because I mean, one of the criticisms is the health systems has broken down in this country.
Well, again, that's obviously a statement made by politicians. We get a lot of ordinary people complimenting government in terms of some health centers, the opening hours, extended opening hours. Some of the pharmacies are extended opening hours. There are many places that did not have a health center.
There's also been criticism.
They've also have health centers. Of course there's criticism. You cannot fix Rome in a day, as some lady told us in Drasa once.
Oh, okay.
But we are now dealing.
They say that in South too.
Okay, very good, very wise people.
Yeah.
But obviously, we are dealing with about 40 years of neglect. And we now have the first MRI machine. I can talk to you about all positive things, but I completely agree with you. Obviously, there needs to be a continuation in terms of addressing those issues. But in respect of in the manifesto itself, we obviously talked about that. But we also said that those people, individuals who have an income of $20,000 or less a year, we will provide all prescribed medicine for them for free, including medicine for NCDs, for example, diabetes and blood pressure tablets. We believe it's an essential item that needs to be provided. The same with education. It's not applicable to all those people. I mean, someone like you earns copious amounts of money.
No, not as much as you.
You're not going to be eligible.
Not as much as you.
I don't know about that, Stanley. Won't be eligible for that. But only those people who earn less than $20,000. And it's a basic, right that we believe should be given.
Right. So, and also I saw that you'll extend the opening hours.
Yes, of various health centers and various government pharmacies.
And many of the health practitioners have talked about their working conditions, their pay and stuff. Are you also going to be looking at that, given the extra work they'll have to be taking on?
Oh, of course. I mean, you need to have shift work, etc. For example, if you can't have a doctor, working for extended periods. But also at the same time, government has been behind the scenes giving more scholarships for medicine. We expect a new batch of a lot more doctors to come out next year and the year after that to meet the shortfall. You'll also see in our manifesto that we've said we want to increase the doctor-patient ratio. That's obviously something that is quite critical, and we need to do that, and there's a huge focus on that.
And you've also made some things on the employment, on the FNPF deduction. And that's also something I'd like to talk about, because the employment figures in this country is something that the political parties have addressed, that we haven't done enough to create employment in this country.
You see, one of the fundamental ways you create employment is you grow the economy. When the economy grows, there's a demand for more skill sets, more services, and you create more jobs. You can't create jobs when the economy is growing at 1% or 2%, in particular when you've got a huge influx of people coming in from the education system and looking for jobs. That has been an issue in Fiji for a long period of time. We believe now with sustained economic growth rates, we'll be able to provide more employment. We've also noticed in our manifesto, for example, we said that we'd like to increase the teacher-student ratio. In some schools, for example, you have one teacher teaching 40 people. Countries like Australia have one teacher per 12 or 15 students. Now, obviously, if we did that, then we'll need more teachers.
So what should the Bainimarama government then be judged on about employment, say 2 years from now?
Well, we have a very decisive leadership. We've put in place a number of policies that actually does create jobs.
That's if you win the election, obviously.
Well, I mean, I assume you're asking me on that basis. That's why I say for the next 2 years. If we do not win, we'll not be talking about the next 2 years.
Sure.
But the point is this, that we've got a strong economic policy. We've got sustained, consistent policies in place, sustained economic growth. Obviously, they'll lead to job creation. But also, you know, if you look at our tertiary education loan scheme, the scholarship schemes, it opens up opportunities for people to be able to work in other Pacific Island countries with the right skill sets. We cannot just think up to Fiji. In the same way our rugby players go and play overseas, they send money back home, people in the British Army, nurses working overseas. So we're looking at it in a global picture too.
So let's look ahead. What will take place on 17th September? It's just a few days away, but just a month ago, Prime Minister Bainimarama was saying we will be aiming to win all 50 seats. Now he's saying, hey, this is between Fiji First versus SODELPA. The polls are, you're not commenting on it, but the polls are actually showing a surge by SODELPA. How confident are you of Fiji First chances?
I don't think the Prime Minister has ever said he has moved away from his 50-seat position, just because the polls show that obviously are polls. As I said, we don't comment on that polls. But that is still our target. Whether a party is surged or not, that's another issue. I understand that in 1999 when Fiji Times did a Tablet poll, it showed that Labour Party is going to lose, but they made a clean sweep. So, you know, let's see. I mean, that's still our target, and we believe that we've got the best record as far as service delivery is concerned. I mean, anybody who is going to be an objective critic will no doubt say the Bainimarama government has carried out the most development in such a short period of time than any other government before. And it brought about a number of fundamental changes that have brought about economic growth. And we're going to continue with that, and we believe that will lead to economic prosperity.
The Attorney General and General Secretary of the Fiji First Party, Mr. Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Stanley.
Right.
Thank you for that. Thanks.
That was a close-up for the evening. Next Sunday, we will be having a one-on-one interview with the leader of the Fiji First Party and the Prime Minister, Rear Admiral retired Josiah Vorangen Bainimarama. And as we count down the last few days towards the September 17th historical elections. Join us then. Good night.